Jack and the cat.
Maybe.
Yesterday, I went into our kitchen and saw a note from my wife that says, "Please turn me off." Is that totally necessary? I mean, if somebody turns you on and forgets to turn you off and let you hanging, it drives you nuts. And that's why I've decided to buy a wood stove. There's no button, there's no knob to turn on or off. I bought it from Amazon for $100 flat. That's before tax, that is. It's made by Toronto or Toronto. I don't know how to pronounce this name. These kinds of stove are very popular online, and it has many names. There are only two different designs for this stove. One of them comes with a rectangular vent on the front. The other one comes with a round vent on the front. Everything else is the same on the stove. The one that comes with a round vent, it has a smaller window because it's taller than this. So the windows is about that big. And that's why I like this style better, because the vent is flatter, so it's short. That makes the window a little bit bigger. I have three objectives for this video. Number one is to show you a detailed review of this stove. Number two is to show you the actual use of this stove and my opinion on it. And number three, there are a few things that need to be improved on this stove, and I'm going to show you my modification to make this stove a better stove. Let's get started. So here it is. This is what I received inside the box when I first opened the box. I've got the stove and a piece of glass. That's it. All other accessories are inside the stove. Here are all the accessories inside the stove. We got 7 sections of stove pipes, a poker. There's a steel grate on the bottom that elevates the wood so that will allow air to go through to burn more efficiently. This is a very funny looking poker, but it's designed like this for a reason. On top of the stove, there's a round hole that is covered by a steel plate and it's removable. So what you do is you poke it into this hole and you can remove it. This is a flat surface and it's very hot. It allows you to cook with your pots and pans on it. You can cook with the steel plate on here. There's no problem with that. But when you remove the steel plate and you put your pans or pots on here to cook, it'll be a lot faster. How much faster? I'll show you that with my actual test in a little bit. This steel grate will fit in here snug. Just like that. And it elevates the bottom about an inch from the bottom. This piece of glass is removable and it slides on the front window just like that. Being removable makes it easy to remove and clean it, and also it gives you an advantage later on with my modification. Here are the 7 sections of the stovepipe. One of them comes with a damper that you can turn and close or open, or just limit the flow of air or smoke that comes out of the stovepipe. This is the top section of the stovepipe and it's shorter, a little bit shorter than the rest. It is capped up on the top and got holes drilled on the side, and that's to prevent sparks from flying up and out and will fall down to your tent if you put your stove inside the tent, that is. It's got some rope mounts, 3 of them. This is for mounting your rope on here to secure the entire stovepipe in place to prevent it from being blown and collapsed in high wind. Dimensions of the pipe: 29 centimeter tall, exactly 6 centimeter in diameter. It's made of thick steel, pretty hard, and it's actually about the same thickness as the pipe for my dryer. Let's take a look at the stove. 38 centimeter from front to back, 20 centimeters wide, 32 centimeters tall with the legs extended. The back of the stove sticks up a little bit and it adds up to the height of the stove, 2.5 centimeters. With all four legs folded, it measures 24 centimeters tall. So how much does it weigh with all the accessories packed inside? And everything weighs 15 pounds, 7.9 ounces, so exactly 15.5 pounds. On this model, there's an improvement in which the extended leg of the stove, where it supports right here, this piece of metal is welded together. The other models, they're not welded together, so when the weight of the stove pushing down, it will push this piece of metal outward, and you will need to weld them together if they're not welded. Yeah, by the way, the bottom leg can be folded together like that if you want a smaller profile. The glass on this will slide up and down freely like that, so you have to be careful not to put the stove upside down or your glass will fall out and it will break. This spring here helps dissipate the heat so that I can still grab on it without burning myself when I need to open the door. The front air vent, you can slide left and right so you can control the airflow to regulate how much air goes inside the stove. The stove is actually airtight. It's welded all the way around. The door, however, is not airtight. There is no seal between the door and the stove itself. When I first got the stove, I was thinking that I might need to have some fiberglass rope and wrap around here to seal the door. But after using it for a while, I realized that that's totally not necessary, because all of the draft, it gets so hot in the stove, all the drafts goes out through the vents and there's no smoke that comes out of here through the gap. The stove is made of thick steel and it's not flimsy at all. So how thick is it? About 1.65, 1.7 millimeter. I'm out here in the garden setting it up, ready to go. It's been 5 minutes and it's roaring in there, just like a rocket stove. Check this out. I don't know if you can see it in camera, but this part of the stove here, it's so hot. It's glowing red hot right there. Wow. Now you can see more clearly. It's glowing red hot right there. Also the top part of the stove right there is also glowing red hot. Wow, check this out. It's glowing red hot from here all the way up here. It is so hot that the top part of the stove is bulging upward and it creates a band that tilts the stove pipe probably a good 10 degrees. That's the top part of the stove that is warped a little bit and create a band. I got half a liter of water here, so I want to see how much time it takes to boil with the lid on versus the lid off. Alright, here we go. It's on. Let's start. It's been about 8 minutes and it starts to boil. Now 30 seconds later, 8 minutes and 40 seconds. We got a rolling boil. It's amazing how fast it boils. Alright, I have cooled everything back to room temperature. Now let's try it with the lid off. See how long it takes to boil this. And the time starts now. Check that out. Sounds like a locomotive engine. Check this out. It's also red hot on the side of the stove. That's amazing. We almost at 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and we got a rolling boil. And that's without the lid on the top. So with this lid on, we have rolling boil at about 8.5 minutes without the lid. It's rolling boil at only 6 minutes. So when you cook without this lid, it's about 30% faster. That's one thing I noticed, that the bottom gets really hot. If you put this in your tent, you need to have good insulation because the piece of plywood down here is not enough. I just removed the stove and check this out. It actually burned my plywood on the bottom here, so definitely you're gonna need a better insulation on the bottom of the stove. Maybe some sort of fiberglass insulation. I wanted to see if it fits inside my fireplace, and surely it does, and it works great in here, and that way I can use it to heat my house. It's burning nicely in there. The heat that comes out of here is tremendous, very hot. Not only can I use it to heat my house, I can also use it to cook or heat water. And it's boiling right now. Let me show you how I put this together. I only use one section of the stovepipe, and it's pretty small. It's about 2.4 inch in diameter, and it's able to fit into the hole of the chimney. So all the smoke goes straight up and out of the house through the chimney. So part of the stove is inside, and the leg on the inside is folded. The leg on the outside is extended. It's a very simple setup. I can easily remove the stove when I need to get it out. Here are some pro tips. Fiberglass insulation on the bottom to protect the bottom. When you first start your stove, make sure you chop up your wood in smaller pieces. Even this piece here is too big to start. It will take a long time to start. But with smaller pieces like this, it will start a lot faster. When you put your stovepipe together, don't push it all the way in. That's all the way in. It's going to be really hard, next to impossible to remove when you clean up, because when it's heated up, it expands and contracts. So this part here is very tight to remove. Instead, just put it in about, let's say, 95% in. Just leave a little bit there of gap there. It will be a lot easier to remove. Let's fire it up. That's it. Now we can put bigger sticks in, just like that. So ready, very hot. It's just 30 seconds later. There we go. One last pro tip. Your glass window is going to be covered with soot after a while. All you have to do to clean it up is to sprinkle some ash on it and use a paper towel with some water, and it will clean right off. I'm going to show you my modification to make this stove a little bit better. And the first one is to protect the bottom with another steel plate. I cut out a piece of steel, and it will go onto the bottom to absorb part of the heat coming out from the bottom, and it will fit in here just like that, snug fit. Now I put my grate on. Now I have another layer of protection to protect the bottom of my stove from premature oxidation. My next mod is this. This is the frame for the glass, and it goes around the edges of the glass. It's made of nickel strips, the same strips I use on my battery projects. I spot weld them together using my spot welder to make this frame, and it goes on the outside of the glass like so. Now I can slide it down the door just like that. That way I can just lift it up a little bit, just enough to put in new wood or to stoke the fires without having to open the door. And that's because when I open the door trying to add wood in, smoke will come out this way, and that's not good if you're inside a tent or inside a house. Without having to open the entire door when I need to add more wood or stoke the fire, there are no smoke coming out this way toward me. There's no smoke coming out through this glass door here when I just lift it just enough to add the wood in. And finally, with this steel stick here, it's small and it's flat. It allows me to push through the gap here down in the vent and allows me to stoke the fire or push the wood in a little bit deeper into the stove without having to open the entire door. So those are the modifications that I made to make this even a better stove. It's actually the best stove that I've ever had. If you have the same stove and have other modifications, please write below. It's gonna help me and other people who own this stove. Check this out. Just listen to that. Oh man, does not look good. Makes me so hungry. I'm drooling. Fire raging inside, sizzling outside. Yummy. And that's all I have for now, folks. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.